Welcome to West Virginia Motor Speedway. I'm Doc Richard, and I am hosting this tribute to Jack Boggs. We're at Tommy Boggs' car right here. This race is in memory of Jack Boggs, the great blackjack, one of the finest to ever pilot a super late model in the United States, the Blackjack 60 here at West Virginia Motor Speedway. Come see and join me in the tribute to one of the best here at West Virginia Motor Speedway in the Blackjack 60. We're in the pits here at West Virginia Motor Speedway with Tommy Boggs, son of Jack Boggs. Tommy, early in your career here, your first trip to West Virginia Motor Speedway, what do you think?
Well, I like it. I'm just hoping the track will be a little hooked up. I ain't real good on a slick track. I've run 22 races in my career and hoping to get better. And tonight, hopefully we'll do pretty good in the race. We got a starting spot in the race and the feature, and I hope we'll go on with it and do pretty good. I just like to finish the race. I don't care really where I finish. I like to finish good, but I just want to finish.
That's Tommy Boggs here at West Virginia Motor Speedway in the Blackjack 60. Still rolling through the pits here at West Virginia Motor Speedway in the Blackjack 60. In here with Rick Auckland. Rick, glad to have you back at West Virginia for this Blackjack 60.
Thank you. Nice day.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day. Mother Nature's kind of blessed us. Maybe that's the way it'll be here for the Blackjack 60. Have a full house for this event. You raced with Jack a lot. What do you think?
Well, we all miss him. Sad, tragic thing that happened. Good way to remember him. I hope it's an annual event.
Oh, we hope so too. Good luck in the Blackjack 60, Rick. Still rolling through the pits here in the Blackjack 60. Stop by to see our good friend Freddie Smith. Freddie, what do you think about this tribute to Jack Boggs?
Well, you know, I think it's great because we got tributes down in North Carolina about my dad, and this right here is a good deal for Jack. It shows people, you know, that comes out, you know, that involved in racing, that they're going to enjoy everything.
Well, it was a tragic loss losing Jack. You raced side by side with him many years.
Hey, me and Jack run back in the NDRE shows, and I'm telling you what, we had some good racing. And, you know, he was a good racer, and you couldn't take that away from him. He was great.
Well, this would be a jewel in the crown if you could win this Blackjack 60. Good luck to you here at West Virginia Motor Speedway this weekend.
Well, I sure would. You know, we'd enjoy to try to win this thing, and so we're going to try to give it a shot and do the best we can.
Thank you, Freddie. Rolling again here at West Virginia Motor Speedway in the pits, Wendell Wallace out of Arkansas. Hey, Wendell, you put a lot of laps on this car right next to the B4 Jack Boggs. What do you think about this race for him?
I don't know. You know, I'd definitely like to win the race. You know, we've had a couple good runs here in West Virginia, and you know, it's a shame it's got to be a Jack Boggs Memorial deal. You know, he was a good racer, and you know, all the fans, I'm sure they'll remember him, and all the racers, they will remember him too.
Well, we hope that this race would be something that lasts for years to come in memory of Jack Boggs. Jack put a lot of laps here at West Virginia Motor Speedway, and to win this would be something.
Yeah, it would. You know, as I was growing up as a kid, we used to read all the racing papers about the B4 car, Jack Boggs and stuff, and you know, that's somebody I look up to, and he's won a lot of races, and hopefully someday I can win some of the big races he's won.
Well, good luck to you here in the Blackjack 60. Down in the Mooresburg, Tennessee natives pit, Scott Bloomquist. Scott, Blackjack meant a lot to everybody in racing. This tribute will be something else for him. What would it be like to take the checkers in this event?
Well, you know, we'd really like to. We're looking forward to running here tonight. Track looks good, and you know, we're glad that this event's being put on. Jack was a good guy. You know, he's definitely missed in racing. We had a lot of good races together, so you know, this race will mean something.
Well, good luck to you here in the Blackjack 60, and every time you take to the dirt here at West Virginia Motor Speedway, Scott.
Thank you very much.
Rolled over to the Mitchell, Indiana pit here at West Virginia Motor Speedway, if that makes any sense, with John Gill. John, happy to have you here at West Virginia Motor Speedway for this tribute to Jack Boggs.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here for this race.
I'll tell you, Jack raced side by side with a lot of the veterans around here for many years. This tribute could be something else to put into your pocket if you could take a win here.
Yeah, I'd sure like to add this to the list of races that I've won in the past. I'd sure, it means more than kind of winning the race. He was a good friend of mine and of course a good competitor, and I'd just like to be able to take this one back to Mitchell.
Well, if this would be an annual event, could we look for John Gill to make it to West Virginia every time?
Yeah, certainly try, yeah.
Well, good luck in this issue of the Blackjack 60 here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rolled over here in the pits to the number 15 of Steve Francis, Kentucky native. This race in tribute to Jack Boggs, another Kentucky native. Glad to have you here, Steve.
We're glad to be here. It's always nice to come to West Virginia Motor Speedway. It's just a super nice facility.
Well, you've kind of dialed this place into your back pocket here in the last few shows, winning a dirt track and a Mountain Mama. But I tell you right now, you're leading the Hav-A-Tampa points as we go through July 23rd. And I tell you right now, we're not getting any help from your rocket buddies right here right now. But here's the way it goes. You're over halfway through the season, West Virginia. This Blackjack 60 could be huge.
Oh yeah, every race right now is. We were fortunate enough to have a good first part of the weekend with the 2 races at Florence on Friday and Saturday night. Scott had one bad night and Wendell had one bad night, so that enabled us to get a little bit of a lead. This place has really been good to me, but that can be scary too because you never know when your luck's going to go the other way. We could have that bad night tonight and they could have the good night, and now we're all right on top of each other again. So, I'm sure that we've all still got good ones and bad ones left. But I really like coming here, and I think we've got some pretty good stuff here. This place just kind of suits my style right now, so looking forward to good things tonight.
Well, you'll have some competition, as there is no junk in this field. They're all hot shoes.
Oh yeah, I think there's 55 cars here or something like that, and probably a good 30 capable of winning the race.
At least that. Well, good luck to you, Steve.
Thank you.
Still in the rocket stable here at West Virginia Motor Speedway in the running of the Blackjack 60. Got Chubb Frank, the driver of the One Star Machine. Chubb, glad to have you at West Virginia.
Thank you very much.
Well, I tell you, Hav-A-Tampa might say it's been very, very good to you here of late. Wayne County a victor, Raceway 7 a victor. What's it feel like to take as Hav-A-Tampa wins?
Well, it was really great to get our first win and then the second one within 2 weeks. Them guys were picking on us a little bit coming down to Kentucky and stuff. I told them we're out of the state of Ohio now. I said we're in Kentucky. We didn't run quite as good as I'd like to down there, but come down here to West Virginia and I don't know how good we're going to be. We've struggled here and we've been good here, so I hope we're on the good side tonight.
Well, your last trip here in the dirt track of 99, you had a good run going and then mechanical failure got a hold of you. You've had some bad luck here in the past, but the track has changed.
Well, as I said, we've been here and run. I've never won here, but we have run second here a couple times and in the top 5 a lot. But like last year at the dirt track, we had to take a provisional and started 35th, or I think we were up to about 9th or 10th, and I had broke a set of gears in the rear end, and with 10 laps to go, it's the worst thing you can do is 10 laps to go. We couldn't have done it on about the first lap.
Payday was a little bit better. Blackjack Boggs, one of the greatest to ever pilot a super late model. You put many laps on many racetracks beside him. This tribute's a great thing. What do you think about it?
Well, Jack was a great race car driver. When I was first starting out, he was pretty much not quite to the top of his game, but he was there, up there with Donnie and all them other guys. And he was always tough to race with, and it took a while. You got to earn them guys' respect. And I think towards the end there, we raced with him a lot on some of the big shows. And he was definitely tough to race. He was always the one to beat. You know what I mean? He was one of the guys you had to beat.
Well, he always put on a show for the fans, and he always put a show on the racetrack. So, good luck to you in the Blackjack 60 here this week at West Virginia Motor Speedway.
Thank you very much.
Please come and do so immediately. All drivers.
getting set for our 4 10-lap Borla Performance Heat races to set the Sweet 16. The first 16 starting spots take the top 4 finishers out of each Borla Performance Heat race. The winner of Heat 1 goes on the pole position of tonight's main event. The Blackjack 60 paying $10,000 to win. Winner of Heat 2 on the outside of row 1. Your 3rd and 4th heat race winners will start in row 2. They'll be followed by the 2nd place finishers in the 4 heats, 3rd place finishers, and the 4th place finishers back in rows number 7 and 8. Drivers finishing 5th on back in the first 2 heat races. They'll line up in the Renegade Transporter's first 10-lap consolation race. And 5th place finishers on back in the 3rd and 4th heats will line up in the Polaris ATV's 10-lap second consolation race. We'll take the top 3 finishers out of each of those consolation races. Top 3 in the Renegade Transporter's first consolation race will start 17th, 19th, and 21st on the grid. And our top 3 finishers in the Polaris ATV's second consolation race will start 18th, 20th, and 22nd. The 23rd and 24th starting spots will go to Hav-A-Tampa Provisionals. Those are the top 2 drivers in the current Hav-A-Tampa point standings that have not made the field through heat race or consolation race action. Doing a little track prep at this time, getting a little moisture up on the top of the speedway.
All right, race fans, don't forget about that 50-50. Play West Virginia Motor Speedway 50-50 and contribute to the Blackjack Boggs Memorial Fund. Maybe somebody will take home a big bunch of cash with them here this evening.
Cars out on the speedway as soon as they finish up the track prep. Rolling the top of the speedway in a little bit where they put the water down. A couple of reasons for this. Number 1, to make the track safer, keep that dust down. And number 2, make it faster. As you will see the Hav-A-Tampa drivers using multiple grooves around this 5/8 mile West Virginia Motor Speedway. Car sitting over off of turn number 3 in the staging area. We'll go ahead and give you the starting lineup for our first 10-lap Borla Performance Heat Race. Top 4 go on to the big show tonight. The winner of this one starts on the pole position for the $10,000 to win Blackjack 60. Your fast qualifier goes from the pole position in heat race number 1 in the 0 car from Mooresburg, Tennessee in the Miller Brothers Gold Warrior Mustang Scott Bloomquist. On the outside of row 1 of the 1G automobile from Mitchell, Indiana, the Elrod Grain Service Rocket Monte Carlo John Gill. Second row on the inside, car number 100 from Lexington, Virginia in the Fitzgerald Lumber Warrior Ford Mustang, the Wild Child, C.S. Fitzgerald. On the outside of row number 2 in the 83J automobile from Bride, Indiana, in the D&S Machine, Rocket Monte Carlo, Scott James. Row number 3 on the inside, the 1M automobile from Elk Mound, Wisconsin, in the Parker Stores, Rocket Monte Carlo, Jimmy Mars. Outside of row 3 in car number 5, it will be Lou Bradich out of Chester, West Virginia, in the Medical Center Brace, Rocket Grand Prix. 4th row on the inside in the 17G automobile from Gaffney, South Carolina in the Bantam Chef Warrior Grand Prix. Hav-A-Tampa Rookie of the Year point leader Mike Galt. Outside of him, another Hav-A-Tampa 2000 Rookie of the Year candidate in the 17E automobile from Wellsburg, West Virginia in the unique walls and ceilings Bullet Monte Carlo, Lance Elson. Row number 5 on the inside, the 111 car from Inez, Kentucky in the Barker's Mobile Homes, Rayburn, Monte Carlo, Paul Davis. Outside of row 5 in car number 12, C from Cambridge, Ohio in the Clewell Auto Group, Masterbuilt Monte Carlo, Courtney Clewell. And in row number 6 on the inside in the CV3 automobile from Knoxville, Tennessee in the Christenberry Trucking and Farms, GRT Monte Carlo, Clayton Christenberry. And on the outside, the 6th row, car number A55 from Racine, Ohio in the Dillows Motorsports, Rayburn, Monte Carlo, Bob Adams Jr. That's your starting lineup for our first 12-lap Borla Performance Heat Race. So the Hav-A-Tampa dirt late models on the speedway. They'll finish ironing in the racetrack on the top. Fred Shope, please call home immediately. So the drivers now lining up, getting set for the start of our first 10-lap Boil-Up Performance heat race. Will receive a $100 bonus for winning our first 10-lap Boil-Up Performance heat race. Field getting the one-to-go signal from UDTRA starter Clifford Brabson, showing him that furrowed green flag. That means if everything looks good, we'll go green when they get back to the cone on the front straightaway. Drivers were instructed in the drivers' meeting they want a nice, steady, even pace through turns 3 and 4. Those two front row cars must be side by side as they approach the cone. They cannot pick up the throttle until the green light comes on in the flag stand. Here they come, rolling off of turn 4. Green flag is out. We're racing. Scott Bloomquist grabs the lead from the pole position with John Gill, car number 1G in second. Jimmy Mars up to the third spot. Trouble on the back straightaway. Trouble on the backstretch. And he got clipped by one of the automobiles at the back of the pack. And damage to the right front corner of the 17. No, check that. The 17G still out on the speedway. That'll be the A55 of Bob Adams Jr. Adams went to the inside, just clipped Scott James' car. Adams with heavy damage on the right front corner of the Dillos Motorsports Rayburn Monte Carlo. So we will have a complete restart to our first 10-lap Boil-Up Performance heat race. Scott Bloomquist on the pole position. John Gill outside of him in the 1G automobile. Field rolling into turn number 4 as they approach the cone. Somebody jumping way outside there on the start. Scott Bloomquist and John Gill, wheel to wheel. They had a race-long battle last night at Florence Speedway. Bloomquist will grab the lead. Gill getting a challenge on the inside from C.S. Fitzgerald in the 100 car. Lance Elson up on the outside, battling with Jimmy Mars for the 4th and final transfer spot. Lance Elson will hold the position after the completion of lap number 1. Scott Bloomquist out in front with John Gill second. C.S. Fitzgerald running third. Lance Elson and Jimmy Mars battling wheel to wheel for the 4th and final transfer spot. Elson on the outside, Mars on the inside. John Gill moves underneath Scott Bloomquist. Crowds him a little bit up on the high side of turn 2. That's the way they raced last night at Florence Speedway. Not giving each other an inch at all. And John Gill grabs the point in car number 1, the Elrod Grain Service Rocket Monte Carlo. Scott Bloomquist back to second with C.S. Fitzgerald in third. Jimmy Mars and Lance Elson still side by side for the 4th and final transfer spot. Jimmy Mars pulls out in front of Lance Elson for the fourth position. Top four go on to the big show tonight. Fifth on back will go into the Renegade Transporters' first consolation race. We're at the halfway point, 5 laps down, 5 to go, as Clifford Brabson shows him the crossed flags. John Gill out in front. Courtney Clewell, the 12 car, brings it to the infield on the back straightaway. John Gill opening up a half a straightaway lead now on Scott Bloomquist in the 0 car with C.S. Fitzgerald holding down the 3rd spot. Jimmy Mars in 4th. Lance Elson in the 17E car, the first driver on the outside looking in, running in the 5th position. Signal coming out. There are 2 laps to go. John Gill leading the way. Bloomquist in 2nd. Fitzgerald in 3rd. Jimmy Mars holding down the 4th position. White flag will be coming out this time around, signaling 1 lap to go for John Gill in car number 1G as he pulls out even further away from the 2nd place car, Scott Bloomquist in the 0 automobile. C.S. Fitzgerald still riding in the 3rd spot, down on the inside, and in 4th, Jimmy Mars in car number 1. Checkered flag will be coming out this time around, taking the win. It will be John Gill in car number 1G. Scott Bloomquist will cross the line in 2nd. 3rd goes to C.S. Fitzgerald. And rounding out the 4th and final transfer spot, it'll be Jimmy Mars with Lance Elson holding down the 5th spot in car 17E. Lance Elson will start on the pole position for the Renegade Transporters' first 10-lap consolation race. Coming home with the win in our first Borla Performance 10-lap heat race from Mitchell, Indiana in the Elrond Grain Service Rocket Monte Carlo. He'll start on the pole position for the $10,000 to win Blackjack 60 later on tonight. How about a nice round of applause for the Indiana Cowboy, John Gill. Coming home in the 2nd spot, in the 0 automobile from Mooresburg, Tennessee, in the Miller Brothers Cole Warrior Mustang. The 3-time Hav-A-Tampa champion Scott Bloomquist will line up for the main event tonight from the inside of row number 3. Coming home in the 3rd spot, in the number 100 automobile, out of Lexington, Virginia. Driving the Fitzgerald Lumber Warrior Ford Mustang, C.S. Fitzgerald. The Wild Child will start the main event from the inside of row 5. And rounding out the top 4 in the 1M automobile from Elkbound, Wisconsin, the Parker Stores Rocket Monte Carlo. He'll start the main event tonight from the inside of row 7, Jimmy Mars. Out on the speedway. Here's the way they'll line up, going from the pole position in the 6M automobile from Batesville, Arkansas, the Monday Trucking GRT House Car Grand Prix for Wendell Wallace. On the outside of row 1, the Hav-A-Tampa point leader in car number 15 from Ashland, Kentucky. In the Valvoline Oil Rocket Monte Carlo, Steve Francis. 2nd row on the inside in car number 24 from York, Pennsylvania. In the Ray Vest Rocket Grand Prix, it'll be Rick Eckert. Outside row 2 in car number 19 from Greencastle, Pennsylvania. In the Reliable Painting GRT Grand Prix, Gary Stuhler. Third row on the inside in car number 5 from Charleston, West Virginia. The Green Valley Bridge Construction Rocket Grand Prix for Steve Lucas. Outside of him, the one-star automobile from Sugar Grove, Pennsylvania, and the Mack Trailers Rocket Monte Carlo, Chubb Frank. Row 4 on the inside in car number 28 from Carpentersville, Illinois. In the C.J. Rayburn Race Cars, Monte Carlo, Dennis Erb Jr. Outside the 4th row, car number 28R from Knoxville, Tennessee. The Diecast Digest Magazine, Fast Monte Carlo for Bill Reed. Row 5 on the inside in car number 12H from Zanesville, Ohio. In the Hina Motorsports GRT Grand Prix, Chad Hina. Outside of him in the 44 car from Hookstown, Pennsylvania, Mark Motes. Row 6 on the inside, Doug Henry, car number 1A, and rounding out the field in car number 69, John C. Ward. Green flags out, we're racing. Field battles down into turn number 1. Steve Francis takes the lead as Wendell Ellis slides up the banking right out of a transfer spot. He'll try to race back on the outside. Steve Francis out in front with Rick Eckert running second. In the 3rd spot, Gary Stuhler. 4th is Wendell Ellis. In the 5th spot, Chubb Frank in the one-star automobile. He's getting a challenge on the inside from the 5 car of Steve Lucas. Stuhler and Rick Eckert battling for the 2nd spot. Steve Francis picking it up where he left off last night. He was the winner at Florence Speedway in Union, Kentucky last night, taking his 2nd straight Ironman 100 championship. Rick Eckert 4th in the point standings, fighting to get back into the championship hunt with Francis, Scott Bloomquist, and Wendell Ellis. Gary Stuhler in 3rd, and Wendell Ellis, who is 3rd in the point standings, riding in the 4th and final transfer spot. Chubb Frank, first driver on the outside, looking in the one-star automobile. He's in the 5th position. Steve Lucas running 6th with Dennis Erb Jr. in the 7th spot in car number 28. Coming up on the halfway point, 5 laps down, 5 to go. Steve Francis still showing the way in car number 15, followed by Rick Eckert in the 24, Gary Stuhler in the 19, and now Wendell Ellis trying the high side in the 6M automobile. Steve Francis will step to the outside as he tries to put John Ward a lap down, and Ward will go a lap down coming off the 2nd turn. Ward keeping the car down on the bottom as Rick Eckert, the 2nd place automobile, goes around on the outside. Francis brings car number 15 off the 4th turn. He'll get the 2-lap to go signal. Rick Eckert trying to reel him in the closing laps. Gary Stuhler still holding down that 3rd spot as Wendell Ellis closes in from the 4th position. Leaders down the back straightaway into turn number 3. The white flag will be coming out this time around. Rick Eckert riding the inside line as Francis runs about midway through the banking. White flag is out, 1 lap to go. Eckert trying to close in to within a couple of car lengths on the final lap. Francis will lead off of turn 2 down the back straightaway. Lap traffic approaching as they race up the 4th turn, but the checkered flag will be coming out. And Steve Francis will take the win with Rick Eckert in the 2nd spot. 3rd goes to Gary Stuhler with Wendell Ellis. In the 4th spot, Chubb Frank will round out the top 5. Chubb Frank will start on the outside of the front row for the Renegade Transporters' first 10-lap consolation race. Coming home with the win in our second Boiler Performance 10-lap heat race, the Hav-A-Tampa point leader out of Ashland, Kentucky in the Valvoline Oil Rocket Monte Carlo. How about a nice round of applause for the Kentucky Colonel, Steve Francis. Steve Francis will line up for the main event tonight from the outside of the front row. Coming home in second spot in car number 24 from York, Pennsylvania, the Ray Vest Rocket Grand Prix. Currently fourth in the Hav-A-Tampa point standing. He'll line up on the outside the third row, Rick Eckert. Coming home in the third spot in car number 19, the Reliable Painting GRT Grand Prix out of Greencastle, Pennsylvania for Gary Stuhler. He'll start the main event tonight from the outside the fifth row in our fourth and final transfer car in the 6M automobile from Batesville, Arkansas, the Monday Trucking GRT House Car Grand Prix. Wendell Wallace, he'll line up on the outside of row number 7. Inside of row 2 for the $10,000 to win, Blackjack 60 tonight. Top 4 go on to the main event. Here's the way they'll line up. Your third fastest qualifier starts from the pole position in car number 53 out of Brasstown, North Carolina, the English Mountain Springwater GRT Mustang, Ray Cook. Outside of the front row in car number 12 out of Fargo, North Dakota, in the Malkut Racing Engines Masterbuilt Race Cars Grand Prix, Rick Auckland. Second row on the inside in car number 99 from Dresden, Ohio, the McCullough Motorsports Masterbuilt Grand Prix, Donnie Moran. Alongside him in the E1 car from Parkersburg, West Virginia, in the Alt Pool Company Rocket Monte Carlo, Mike Balzano. Third row on the inside in car number 1 from Jacksonville, Florida, the Dunn Benson Ford Rocket Ford Mustang for Earl Pearson Jr. Outside of row 3, the 71C automobile from Wheelersburg, Ohio, in the Conley Trucking Rocket Grand Prix, R.J. Conley. Fourth row on the inside in car number 79 from Rock Ridge, Bass, Virginia, in the Malkut Racing Engines Rocket Monte Carlo, Booper Bear. Outside of row 4 in car number 72 from Millersburg, Ohio, with the Burt Transmissions Rocket Monte Carlo, John Mason. Row 5 on the inside in car number 44B from Parkersburg, West Virginia, the Poskey's Performance Parts Rocket Monte Carlo for Jeff Burdett. Outside of row 5 in car number 6T, Tim Dome from Charleston, West Virginia, in the Dome Cycles Rocket Monte Carlo. Sixth row on the inside, the E10 car for Brian Eaton from Belpre, Ohio, in the Belpre Chiropractics Masterbuilt Grand Prix. And rounding out the field in car number 75 from Zanesville, Ohio, the B&F General Machine GRT Monte Carlo, Bart Hardman. Green flag out on heat race number 3. Ray Cook and Rick Auckland will race into turn number 1. Cook will grab the lead from the pole position with Auckland in second. Donnie Moran and Mike Balzano battle wheel to wheel for third down the back straightaway, as the top 4 cars running together on the speedway. Behind them, a battle for the 5th spot between Booper Bear and the 79 car and the 1 car of Earl Pearson Jr. Ray Cook out in front with Rick Auckland second. Mike Balzano up to third with Donnie Moran riding in fourth. Booper Bear, the first driver, on the outside looking in as he rides in the 5th position. Earl Pearson Jr. running 6th with R.J. Conley 7th. John Mason holding down the 8th spot. Bart Hartman 9th in car number 75. John Mason moves underneath Earl Pearson Jr., slides up in front of him, up the banking. Now Pearson will try to do the same. Off the 4th turn, they touch at the flag stand, and Earl Pearson Jr. with some damage on the back part of his race car. That looks like the left front fender of John Mason's automobile stuck in the tail section of Earl Pearson Jr.'s automobile. Ray Cook still your race leader. Rick Auckland in second, Mike Balzano third, Donnie Moran in 4th. Booper Bear still on the outside, looking in from the 5th position with John Mason in the 6th spot. R.J. Conley running in the 6th spot in the 71R automobile. Brings them down to complete lap number 7. 3 laps to go in our 3rd Borla Performance Heat race. Winner of this one starts on the inside of row 2 for the Blackjack 60. Later on this evening, Rick Auckland in 2nd, Mike Balzano 3rd, Donnie Moran in the 4th and final transfer spot. Moran with a comfortable cushion over the 5th place automobile. Booper Bear in the 79 automobile as the 2 to go signal comes out. 8 down, 2 to go. White flag is out, 1 lap to go. Checkered flag coming out for Ray Cook. Rick Auckland 2nd, Mike Balzano 3rd, Donnie Moran 4th. And 5th will go to the driver of the 79 car, Booper Bear. Coming home with the win in our 3rd 10-lap Borla Performance Heat race in car number 53. He'll start the main event tonight from the inside of the 2nd row, driving the English Mountain Springwater GRT Ford Mustang. How about a nice round of applause for the Tar Heel Tiger, Ray Cook. Coming home in the 2nd spot in car number 12, the Masterbuilt Race Cars Grand Prix out of Fargo, North Dakota. He'll line up for the Blackjack 60 on the inside, the 4th row, Rick Auckland. And in the 3rd spot, one of the hometown heroes is in the show, in the E1 automobile, the All-Pool Company Rocket Monte Carlo from Parkersburg, West Virginia. It'll be Mike Balzano starting on the inside, the 6th row, and rounding out the top 4 in car number 99 from Dresden, Ohio, the McCullough Motorsports Masterbuilt Grand Prix, Johnny Moran. And those spots will go to the top 4 finishers in our 4th Borla Performance 10-lap heat race. Winner of this one will line up on the outside of row 2 for the $10,000 to win Blackjack 60. Later on this evening, here's your starting lineup. Going from the pole position in the 1J car from Greensburg, Pennsylvania, the Rocket Chassis House car, Monte Carlo for Davey Johnson. Outside the front row in the 15B automobile from Muscatine, Iowa, the Cybert Calf Ranchers Rocket Grand Prix for Brian Burkhofer. 2nd row on the inside, the T8 car from St. Clairsville, Ohio, the Blairmont Mechanical Rocket Monte Carlo from Mark Bunnell. Outside of him in car number 30 from Parkersburg, West Virginia, in the Simonton Windows Poskey's Performance Raybird Monte Carlo, Steve Shaver. 3rd row on the inside, the 00 automobile, the 1996 Hav-A-Tampa National Champion from Knoxville, Tennessee, and the Christenberry Trucking and Farms GRT Monte Carlo, Freddie Smith. On the outside of row 3 in car number 71R from Wheelersburg, Ohio, in the Connolly Trucking Rocket Monte Carlo, Rod Conley. Fourth row on the inside, the S9 car from Pewaukee, Wisconsin. The Performance Roofing Systems Rayburn Monte Carlo for Dan Schleeper. Outside of row 4 in the 00H from Beverly, West Virginia. In the Gerrard's Vending Rayburn Monte Carlo, Chuck Harper. Row 5 on the inside, car number 21L from Loudonville, Ohio. The Cowan Truck Lines Masterbuilt Mustang for George Lee. Outside of him, in the B3 car from Grayson, Kentucky, in the Goodson Trucking Rayburn Monte Carlo, Randy Boggs. Row number 6 on the inside, the TB4 car from Grayson, Kentucky, in the Christie Glenn Masterbuilt Monte Carlo, Tommy Boggs. And rounding out the field in car number 24C from Wash, West Virginia, in the TL Vaughn Trucking Masterbuilt Grand Prix, Ryan Klein. Green flag is out in our fourth and final 10-lap Borla Performance Heat Race. Field racing into turn number 1. Side by side for the lead, Davey Johnson, Brian Burkhofer, and the caution flag coming out. One car up against the fence up in turn number 2. Contact up there, the car is rolling. So the restart. On a double foul start on that opening lap, if a driver spins on his own without contact and the caution flag comes out, they go to the back of the pack for the restart. But if there's contact involved, everybody gets their spot back. So we'll line them up for a complete restart of our fourth 10-lap Borla Performance Heat Race. Winner of this one starts on the outside of row 2 for the Munson. On the pole position, Brian Burkhofer. Alongside him, it's their responsibility to set the pace down to the orange cone. Mark Bonnell on the inside of row 2 is Steve Shaver. Outside of him in car number 30, Freddie Smith. On the inside of the third row, Rod Conley. Outside of him in the 71R. Here they come down to the cone. Green flags out. We're racing. Down into turn number 1. It's Davey Johnson and Brian Burkhofer battling for the lead. Steve Shaver moves up to third. Freddie Smith into fourth. Davey Johnson on the inside, Burkhofer racing him hard on the outside. They're wheel to wheel off the fourth turn for the lead. Davey Johnson and Brian Burkhofer battling up front for the lead. Now Davey Johnson will take charge off the second turn with Burkhofer in second. Freddie Smith will slide underneath Steve Shaver to take over the third spot. Shaver running in the fourth and final transfer spot in car number 30. First driver on the outside looking in, the S9 car of Dan Schleeper running up in the 5th position. Rod Conley holding down the 6th spot in the 71R automobile. Davey Johnson holding down a 6-car length advantage over Brian Burkhofer in the 15B. Another 6 car lengths back to the third place running Freddie Smith. Smith using the inside line of the speedway, the 00 automobile. Steve Shaver in the 4th and final transfer spot in car number 30 with Dan Schleeper trying different lines around the speedway, trying to race his way to the main event. Right now he's on the outside looking in the 5th spot. We're at the halfway point, 5 laps down and 5 to go. Davey Johnson still on the point with Brian Burkhofer in second, Freddie Smith third. Fourth is Steve Shaver. Dan Schleeper has been unable to gain any ground on that 4th place automobile of Steve Shaver to make it a battle for the 4th and final transfer spot. Davey Johnson still showing the way off of turn number 4 with Burkhofer second, Smith in third. Top 3 automobiles beginning to pull away from the 4th place car, Steve Shaver in car number 30. coming out. There are 2 laps to go. White flag coming out. 1 lap to go for Davey Johnson. Brian Burkhofer still keeping that 6-car lengths in second spot. Has not been able to gain any ground and has not lost any ground. Freddie Smith in the 3rd spot in the 00 with Steve Shaver still riding in 4th. Checkered flag coming out this time around. Davey Johnson will take the win. Brian Burkhofer in 2nd. Freddie Smith in 3rd. The 30 is Steve Shaver in the 4th spot. And Dan Schleeper in the S9 car. He'll start on the outside front row for the Polaris ATV's 2nd consolation race. Home with the win in our 4th 10-lap Borla Performance Heat Race in the 1J automobile from Greensburg, Pennsylvania, in the Rocket Chassis House Car Monte Carlo. How about a nice round of applause for Davey Johnson? Davey Johnson will start the main event tonight from the outside of the 2nd row. Coming home in the 2nd spot in the 15B automobile from Muscatine, Iowa, in the Seibert Calf Ranch's Rocket Grand Prix, Brian Burkhofer. He'll line up for the Blackjack 60 on the outside of row number 4. Coming home in 3rd, the Southern Gentleman, Freddie Smith in the 00 car, the Christenberry Trucking and Farms GRT Monte Carlo. The 1996 Hav-A-Tampa National Champion will line up for the big show on the outside of row number 6. And rounding out the top 4, another one of the local favorites from Parkersburg, West Virginia. In the Simonton Windows, Posky's Performance Parts, Rayburn Monte Carlo, Steve Shaver will round out the Sweet 16. He'll start on the outside of row number 8. So, Doc, a couple of the more well-known national dirt late model drivers right from this area, Mike Balzano and Steve Shaver, both of them in the Blackjack 60 tonight.
Well, race fans here are going to be happy to see that part of it there, Roby. But I tell you what, we've got some terrific drivers that still got to make this show through those B mains. And I tell you what, it's going to be like 2 more features upcoming here right after the AMRA Road Warrior
Modifiers 10-lap first consolation race. Field's been given the 1 to go signal. We are set to go green. Lance Elson and Chubb Frank up on the front row. Bring them off the 4th turn. Green flag's out. We're racing. Field battles into turn number 1. Chubb Frank will grab the point with Lucas in the 2nd spot. Battle for the 3rd and final transfer spot. Lance Elson on the outside. Battling with Lou Bradich in the 5 car. Chubb Frank leading down the back straightaway. Steve Lucas in 2nd, and Lou Bradich brings the 5 car up into the 3rd and final transfer spot. Dennis Erb Jr., car number 28, up to the 4th position, but he's on the outside looking in. Right behind him, a pair of 17s, the black 17 of Mike Galt, moves underneath Lance Elson up into the 5th position. Clayton Christenberry now riding in 6th in the CV3 car. halfway point, 5 laps down, 5 to go with Chubb Frank still in the lead. Car number 5, Steve Lucas in the second spot. And the 5B car, Lou Bradich in third, Dennis Erb Jr. trying to close in from the 4th spot and challenge for the 3rd and final transfer spot. Dennis Erb Jr. working the inside line as he closes in on Lou Bradich. The battles for the 3rd and final transfer spot. 6 laps down and 4 to go. Dennis Erb Jr. digging hard down on the bottom of that 28 car, trying to reel in the 3rd place automobile of Lou Bradich. This time by, the signal is out. There are 2 laps to go with Chubb Frank, your leader. Steve Lucas in second. Lou Bradich third with Dennis Erb Jr. in fourth. On the outside looking in. Erb goes to the inside in turn number 1. Can he get the bite he needs off the second turn? He is within a car length of Lou Bradich as the white flag is out. 1 lap to go for Chubb Frank. Half straightaway lead over Steve Lucas. Here comes Erb on the inside. Dennis Erb Jr. going for the 3rd and final transfer spot. And Erb makes the pass down the back straightaway. Checkered flag out for Chubb Frank in the 1 star. Steve Lucas will finish in second. And third will go to Dennis Erb Jr. in car number 28. Coming home with the win in the Renegade Transporters first 10-lap consolation race out of Sugar Grove, Pennsylvania. The Mack Trailers Rocket Monte Carlo. How about a nice round of applause for Chubb Frank? Chubb Frank will line up for the main event tonight from the inside of row number 9. Coming home in the second spot in car number 5 from Charleston, West Virginia in the Green Valley Bridge Construction Rocket Grand Prix, Steve Lucas. Lucas will line up for the Blackjack 60 on the inside of row number 10. And rounding out the top 3 in car number 28 from Carpentersville, Illinois, the 1999 Hav-A-Tampa Rookie of the Year in the C.J. Rayburn Race Cars Monte Carlo, Dennis Erb Jr. He'll line up on the inside of row number 11. Coming up next are Polaris ATVs, 10-lap second consolation race. Here's the way the field will line up. Going from the pole position in car number 79 from Rock Ridge, Bass, Virginia. In the Malkut Racing Engines Rocket Monte Carlo, it'll be Booper Bear. Outside row 1 in the S9 car from Pewaukee, Wisconsin in the Performance Roofing Systems Rayburn Monte Carlo, Dan Schleeper. Row 2 on the inside in the 71C car from Wheelersburg, Ohio in the Conley Trucking Rocket Grand Prix. It'll be R.J. Conley. It'll be an Al Conley second row on the outside of row 2 in the 71R from Wheelersburg, Ohio in the Conley Trucking Rocket Monte Carlo, Rod Conley. Third row on the inside in car number 75 from Zanesville, Ohio in the B&F General Machine GRT Monte Carlo, Bart Hartman. Outside of him in the T8 car from St. Clairsville, Ohio in the Blairmont Mechanical Rocket Monte Carlo, Mark Banal. Fourth row on the inside in car number 1 from Jacksonville, Florida in the Dunn Benson Ford Rocket Mustang. It'll be Earl Pearson Jr. Outside the fourth row in the 00H car from Beverly, West Virginia in the Jared's Vending Rayburn Monte Carlo, Chuck Harper. Fifth row on the inside, car number 72 for John Mason out of Millersburg, Ohio, with the Burt Transmissions Rocket Monte Carlo. Outside the fifth row, car number 21L, George Lee from Loudonville, Ohio, with the Cowan Truck Lines Masterbuilt Mustang. Row 6 on the inside, car number 44 for Jeff Burdett from Parkersburg, West Virginia, in the Poskey's Performance Parts Rocket Monte Carlo. Outside of row 6, the B3 car from Grayson, Kentucky, in the Goodson Trucking Rayburn Monte Carlo, Randy Boggs. Row 7 on the inside, the 6T automobile from Charleston, West Virginia, in the Dome Cycles Rocket Monte Carlo. It'll be Tim Dome. Outside row 7, in the TB4 automobile from Grayson, Kentucky, the Christy Glenn Masterbuilt Monte Carlo for Tommy Boggs. And in row number 8 on the inside, the E10 car from Belpre, Ohio, the Belpre Chiropractics Masterbuilt Grand Prix for Brian Eaton. Rounding out the field, the 24C from Wash, West Virginia, in the TL Trucking Masterbuilt Grand Prix, Ryan Klein. That's your starting lineup for the Polaris ATV's second 10-lap consolation race. And Sleeper up on row number 1. Side by side, they'll bring them down to the cone to start the race. Here they come, rolling off the fourth turn. Green flag is out, we're racing. Dan Sleeper with the whole shot, but he'll get a challenge on the inside from Booper Bear. They're wheel to wheel off the second turn, down the back straightaway. From the outside of the second row, Rod Conley in the 71R car up in that third and final transfer spot. But here comes Bart Hardman on the inside in car number 75. Dan Sleeper with a half car length advantage, in trouble for Conley in turn number 2. 71R Rod Conley spins over in turn number 2 to bring out the caution flag. Restart. R.J. Conley, first driver on the outside, looking in the 71C automobiles. The green flag comes out. We're racing. Bart Hardman looking to the inside of Booper Bear as they battle for the second spot. Still working that inside line, trying to move up to battle with the 79 car. A Booper Bear for the second spot. Top 3 cars pulling away from the 4th place automobile of R.J. Conley. Mark Banal up challenging Conley for the 4th spot. Bart Hardman and Booper Bear wheel to wheel off of turn 4. The battle for second. Booper Bear allowed drag Bart Hardman down the front straightaway into turn number 1. Dan Sleeper still showing away in the S9 car. Booper Bear still hanging on to second as he pulls out to about 3 car lengths over Bart Hardman in car number 75. And we're at the halfway point. 5 laps down and 5 to go in our Polaris ATV's second 10-lap consolation race. Hardman again, wheel to wheel with Booper Bear off the second turn, down the back straightaway. Hardman on the inside, Bear on the outside. They're still wheel to wheel off the 4th turn. Hardman with a half car length advantage down the front straightaway and into turn number 1. Bart Hardman right down the hub of the speedway, slides up in front of Booper Bear to take over the second spot. Dan Sleeper still leads. Bart Hardman now in second with Booper Bear in third. Bart Hardman beginning to reel in the race leader, Dan Sleeper, in the closing laps of our Polaris ATV second 10-lap consolation race. Hardman still using the inside groove, getting into turn number 1. He pulls to within 2 car lengths of Dan Sleeper, down the back straightaway into turn number 3. Hardman will dive for the bottom, pulls up alongside Dan Sleeper. They're wheel to wheel off the 4th turn. The signal's out. There are 2 laps to go. Dan Sleeper holds off Bart Hardman, but Hardman slides down the bottom in turn number 1. Can't make the move up in front of Sleeper. Down the back straightaway, it'll be Hardman taking the lead. Sleeper will tuck back in behind Bart Hardman as they'll come down for the white flag. 1 lap to go. Bart Hardman out in front with Dan Sleeper in second. Booper Bear holding down the 3rd spot. R.J. Conley in the 71C still riding in the 4th position. On the outside looking in. The checkered flag will be coming out this time around. And coming home with the win, it will be Bart Hardman in car number 75, with Dan Sleeper in second, driving the S9 car, and third is car number 79, Booper Bear. Coming home with the win in car number 75 from Zanesville, Ohio, in the B&F General Machine GRT, Monte Carlo. How about a nice round of applause for Bart Hardman, winner of the Polaris ATV second 10-lap consolation race. Bart Hardman will start 18th on the grid. Coming home in second in the S9 car from Pewaukee, Wisconsin, the Performance Roofing Systems Rayburn Monte Carlo for Dan Sleeper. Sleeper will line up for the Blackjack 60 on the outside of row number 10. And rounding out the top 3, the final transfer spot in car number 79 from Rock Ridge, Bass, Virginia, in the Malkut Racing Engines Rocket Monte Carlo, it'll be Booper Bear. Booper Bear will line up for the $10,000 to win Blackjack 60 from the 22nd starting spot on the outside of row number 11. Now we will decide who the 2 provisionals will be to see if the top 2 drivers in the point standings will accept their provisionals. They get a total of 5 during the course of the year. And Mike Galt has 4 provisionals used up, so if he uses one tonight, it'll be his last one. And the second provisional in line is the CV3 of Clayton Christenberry. So we will wait to see if those 2 drivers will accept provisionals tonight to tag on to the field in the 23rd and 24th starting spots. From Parkersburg, West Virginia, in the All-Pool Company Rocket Monte Carlo, Mike Balzano. Row number 5, starting on the inside in car number 19 from Greencastle, Pennsylvania, in the Reliable Painting GRT Grand Prix with 1 Hav-A-Tampa win on the season, Gary Stuhler. 5th row on the inside in the 100 automobile from Lexington, Virginia, the Fitzgerald Lumber Warrior Mustang for C.S. Fitzgerald. 4th row on the outside in car 15B from Muscatine, Iowa, the Seibert Calf Wrenches Rocket Grand Prix for Brian Burkhofer. Inside of him in car number 12 from Fargo, North Dakota, driving the Masterbuilt Race Cars Grand Prix with 1 Hav-A-Tampa win on the year, the Masters 100 at Cedar Lake Speedway in New Richmond, Wisconsin, Rick Auckland. 3rd row on the outside in car number 24 from York, Pennsylvania, in the Ray Vest Rocket Mustang, Rick Eckert, currently 4th in the point standings with 4 wins. Inside row 3 in the 0 car from Mooresburg, Tennessee, in the Miller Brothers Cole Warrior Mustang, 3-time Hav-A-Tampa National Champion, currently 2nd in the point standings with 4 wins, Scott Bloomquist. Row 2 on the outside in the 1J automobile from Greensburg, Pennsylvania, in the Rocket Chassis House Car Monte Carlo, Davey Johnson. Inside row 2, car number 53 from Brasstown, North Carolina, the English Mountain Springwater GRT Mustang, currently 6th in the Hav-A-Tampa point standings with 1 win on the season, the Tar Heel Tiger Ray Cook. And on the front row, on the outside, in car number 15 from Ashland, Kentucky, the Valvoline Oil Rocket Monte Carlo, your Hav-A-Tampa point leader with 3 wins on the season, Steve Francis. And on the pole position in the 1G automobile from Mitchell, Indiana, the Elrod Grain Service Rocket Monte Carlo, it's the Indiana Cowboy, John Gill. That's your starting lineup, 26 cars strong for the running of tonight's Blackjack 60. bars up front. Those are the B3 car of Randy Boggs and the TB4 of Tommy Boggs. They have left one spot open on the grid, the missing man formation, in tribute and honor to one of the legends of dirt track racing and their father, the late Jack Boggs. As the field behind them goes into the 4 wide, salute to the fans formation. So paying honor to Black Jack Boggs, with Tommy Boggs and Randy Boggs up on the front with the missing man formation. And behind them, the tribute to you, the world's greatest race fans, with the 4 wide salute to the fans. We're going to start it over on the back straightaway. Right now, everybody on the back stretch, up on your feet. Let's stand up and wave your hats, your handkerchiefs, your programs. Wave to the drivers. They'll be waving at you as they come down the back straightaway. Porter on the way to the racetrack tonight and could not make the trip. But I know that he is here in spirit. Jackie Boggs also a part of this great event here at West Virginia Motor Speedway. Let's wave your hats, your handkerchiefs, wave your jackets, your sweatshirts, wave to the drivers. They'll be waving at you. Ladies and gentlemen, in honor and tribute to the late, great Jack Boggs, we give you the cars and stars of the Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Late Models. Wave at them, they're waving at you. 26 of the fastest dirt late model drivers and cars in the country rolling before you on the front straightaway. One of the most beautiful sights in all of motorsports, the 4 wide. Salute to the fans. Bunching up behind them. Ray Cook, Davey Johnson in row 2, Scott Bloomquist, Rick Eckert in the 3rd row, Rick Auckland, Brian Burkhofer in row 4. They're all there, poised and ready to go. Here they come, side by side, rolling off the 4th turn. Green flag is out, we're racing. John Gill and Steve Francis battle into the 1st turn. Francis noses ahead on the outside. Coming off the 2nd turn, Steve Francis, your leader, with John Gill in 2nd. Davey Johnson holding down the 3rd spot is Ray Cook. And Rick Eckert battle wheel to wheel for the 4th position. Ray Cook on the inside will take the 4th spot from Rick Eckert down the back straightaway. Steve Francis out in front, opening up a 3-car length advantage over John Gillen, stretching it out down the front straightaway with Davey Johnson running 3rd. Francis stretching it out in the 15 automobile. John Gill in 2nd. Davey Johnson 3rd. Rick Eckert back up to 4th with Ray Cook in 5th. Holding down the 6th spot, Rick Auckland in car number 12. Scott Bloomquist in 7th, Brian Burkhofer 8th, C.S. Fitzgerald in 9th, and 10th is Mike Balzano in the E1 car. Eckert trying to close down on the third place automobile, Davey Johnson, and now a battle for the third spot off the fourth turn. Eckert looks to the inside, can't find the room he needs to move underneath Davey Johnson for third. Eckert is moved by Davey Johnson to take over the third spot. Race leader Steve Francis putting Tommy Boggs a lap down in the TB4 car. Next car he'll move up on will be Randy Boggs in the B3. John Gill still running second with Rick Eckert in third. Davey Johnson fourth. Ray Cook in the fifth spot. Moran brings the McCullough Motorsports number 99 car down pit road. Smoke coming out of the back of the automobile. So Donnie Moran, seventh in the point standings. Looks like he's going to be the first car out of the event. Steve Francis continuing with a big lead over John Gill as Rick Eckert begins to close in on the second place car of John Gill. Davey Johnson still rides in fourth with Ray Cook in fifth. Scott Bloomquist up to sixth. Seventh is Rick Auckland. Brian Burkhofer in eighth. Gary Stuhler running ninth. C.S. Fitzgerald in the 10th spot, getting a challenge from the outside, running Wendell Wallace. Wallace will move by on the outside to take over the 10th position. Set to get into more traffic as Steve Francis closes in on Clayton Christenberry in the CV3 car. Car slow on the back straightaway. Tried to make it to the pit gate on the backstretch. 79, a Booper Bear pulls in the infield. So Booper Bear calls it a night in car number 79. And Jimmy Mars off the pace down the back straightaway as Steve Francis, the race leader, works on the number 1 car of Earl Pearson Jr. as he goes a lap down. Jimmy Mars brings the Parker Stores Rocket Monte Carlo into the infield. Steve Francis working that lap traffic. John Gill trying to use that to close in on the race leader. Rick Eckert in 3rd. Davey Johnson 4th. 5th is Ray Cook. Scott Bloomquist on his back bumper challenging from the 6th position. Rick Auckland in 7th. Brian Burkhofer holding down the 8th spot with Gary Stuhler. In 9th and 10th is Wendell Wallace in the 6M car. John Gill now keeping pace with Steve Francis, your race leader in car number 15. Gill has been able to pull out to a little bit of advantage over the 3rd place car, Rick Eckert in car number 24. Steve Francis, the race leader, getting into some more traffic over in turns 1 and 2. John Gill trying to close in on the 1G. Clayton Christenberry brings the CV3 car into the infield. And report from UDTRA officials, he has a broken left front tie rod on the CV3 car. And John Gill closing in right on the back bumper of Steve Francis as they work underneath the Randy Boggs machine. Rick Eckert also trying to reel in the top 2 automobiles of Steve Francis and John Gill. Francis will lead down the back straightaway into turn 3. John Gill just about 2 car lengths behind the race leader. Another 5 car lengths back to the 3rd place automobile of Rick Eckert. Davey Johnson still rides in the 4th spot. 5th is Ray Cook. Scott Bloomquist in the 6th position. 7th is Rick Auckland. 8th is Brian Burkhofer. 9th is Wendell Wallace and Gary Stuhler in the 10th spot. 20 to go. Steve Francis still out in front with John Gill in second, Rick Eckert third, Davey Johnson fourth, Ray Cook in fifth, Scott Bloomquist sixth, seventh is Rick Auckland, eighth is Brian Burkhofer, ninth is Wendell Wallace, and 10th is Gary Stuhler. John Gill looking to the inside is Steve Francis off the fourth turn. Francis gets back down on the bottom of the speedway. Steve Francis trying to stay down in the groove. If he gets out of that groove just a little bit, the car wants to push up the banking, and John Gill is right there to try to take advantage of it. He didn't quite get underneath him coming off the fourth turn just a couple of laps ago. The leaders in heavy lap traffic off the fourth turn. Steve Francis has Dan Schleeper right in front of him in the S9 car. Schleeper will give Francis just a little bit of the inside. Francis trying to take advantage of it. Francis right down on the bottom in turn 3. Schleeper will give the leader room off the fourth turn. If Steve Francis can work his way around Dan Schleeper, it looks like he will coming off the fourth turn. The race leader now with clear racetrack in front of him and 2 lap cars between himself and the second place car of John Gill. Dan Schleeper in the S9 and Chubb Frank in the 1 star, both a lap down between the race leader Steve Francis and the second place car of John Gill. Laps down, 10 to go. Steve Francis looking for his 3rd straight win here at West Virginia Motor Speedway, winning the Dirt Track World Championship here last year and the Mountain Mama 100 earlier this year. Steve Francis off the fourth turn with 9 laps to go. John Gill has worked his way around Chubb Frank. Now he'll have to negotiate past the lap car of Dan Schleeper. In the closing laps, it looks like Steve Francis has packed his bags, turned into key, and checked out on the field. A half straightaway lead now for Steve Francis. Francis also looking for his 2nd straight win as as Davey Johnson is moved by Rick Eckert for the third spot. Davey Johnson now running third with Rick Eckert fourth, Ray Cook in fifth. Scott Bloomquist running in the sixth spot, Rick Auckland seventh, eighth is Brian Burkhofer, ninth is Wendell Wallace, and 10th is Gary Stuhler. Francis now with almost a full straightaway lead over John Gill. Steve Francis in heavy lap traffic coming off the fourth turn. There are 2 laps to go, 2 to go. Race leader in heavy lap traffic, but John Gill over a half straightaway behind the race leader in the closing laps. Steve Francis will carefully try to work his way through the traffic. The checkered flag is coming out in a couple of laps. And now Steve Francis will take the white flag. 1 lap to go. Steve Francis down the back straightaway. The Hav-A-Tampa point leader looking to stretch his advantage out. Here he comes down for his 4th win of the season, his 3rd in a row at West Virginia Motor Speedway. Steve Francis wins the Blackjack 60. John Gill will finish in the 2nd spot. 3rd will go to Davey Johnson with 4th. Rick Eckert, Ray Cook in the 5th spot.
Especially my crew. I mean, this all goes to them guys. They've put countless hours in here lately. You know, the rocket chassis, Russell Baker motor, Mark Richards. You know, Mark and I talked about a few things right before the race, and he said you better go back like you were. So we kind of run the heat race on a little different setup than what we had at Mountain Mama and the dirt track last year. And he told me, he said, you better get back where you were. So we went back to it right before the race, and the car was just exceptional from then on. You know, it's really nice that we can have a race like this in Jack's memory. You know, that guy done an awful lot for this sport.
Yes, he's going to be greatly missed over the years. Let's hope that Lou Hubbard, Carl Short, and Scott Farley find it in their nature to do this again next year and for continuing years, so we'll always remember Jack Boggs.
Yeah, not to mention I'd like to race here about every weekend. I mean, this place has just been unreal to us in the last year and a half or so.
Well, I can remember a guy named Bart Hartman who had this place dialed in just about like you do. And when I talked to him about it, he says, it comes and it goes, so let's enjoy it while it's happening.
Oh, I guarantee it. I mean, you know, we know this success is not going to keep rolling like it is right now. We're going to try to ride it as long as we can.
Race fans, the pits are open. Steve Francis, your Blackjack 60 winner. You want to stop by the pits, see your favorite driver, get an autograph? They're open for you now.
Steve, buddy, this is going to be a hell of a habit. I like it. Thank you.
With race promoter Carl Short here. Carl, I tell you what, the Boggs family's got to be proud of what you've done here this weekend. The racers and the fans coming out. I don't know what the 50-50 was when I was down here, but it had to be tremendous.
The 50-50 was $1,526, which the other $1,526 goes into the Boggs Memorial Fund, naturally. And I sure hope that the whole entire Boggs family is pleased with the show tonight. I know everybody that was here should be pleased because I felt like it was a tremendous show. Steve put on another driving display that was just absolutely awesome as usual. And I hope everybody will be back in October for the Dirt Track World Championship.
Well, thank you, Carl. Once again, Dirt Track World Championship tickets on sale, advanced, on sale. Carl, we'll bring you and Steve around here. Carl, you want to get a plan? Wait a second. Thank you. Good.